Welcome to Screw the Commute, the entrepreneurial podcast dedicated to getting you out of the car and into the money. With your host, lifelong entrepreneur and multimillionaire, Tom Antion.
Hey everybody, it's Tom here with episode 131 of Screw the Commute podcast. I've got a really wonderful lady here. Robyn Pearce is with us today. And this lady knows about time and how to manage it. I met her about 19 years ago at Butt Camp I had in Washington, D.C., and we've been friends ever since. And I have one favorite time management tip. And I want to say it because I want to see what she thinks about it. I'm going to just say what it is, and then I'll tell you what it means to me later. Here's my tip. Half is empty. Half is empty. And when we get her on here, we'll ask her what she thinks about it when I tell her what it means. All right, last episode was 130, voice search. In that Monday training episode, I talked about the changing way people are searching and what you have to do to adjust your keyword research so you don't get passed by when they're searching by voice. And remember, on Mondays, I do an in-depth training on something that's made me or saved me a fortune. And Wednesdays and Fridays, I interview other great entrepreneurs like Robyn. Now, I got a big freebie to thank you for listening to this podcast. It's my $27 ebook, How to Automate Your Business. And just one of the tips in this ebook has saved me over 7 million keystrokes. And that's a time saver and a time management thing for you if I ever heard one. And I just might have another little gift for you over there. So check it out at screwthecommute.com/automate-free. Screwthecommute.com/automate-free. And I hope Robyn grabs a copy of that too, because I think she'll enjoy some of the things that save me lots and lots of time. All right, our podcast app is in the iTunes store. You can go to screwthecommute.com/app where you will have complete instructions on how to use all the fancy features so you can take us with you on the road a lot easier. And also do us a favor, tell a friend about this podcast if they're interested in entrepreneurship or starting a business or improving the one they got. That will help us out. We really appreciate it. All right, today's sponsor is the Distance Learning School, the Internet Marketing Training Center of Virginia. Now, did you ever wonder how tens of thousands of people like me sit home and earn legitimate money and don't have to listen to a boss or get up and fight traffic every day? Well, it's because we have legitimate online businesses. And the reason I emphasize the word legitimate is because there's tons of scams out there in the online world. And that's why I started the only licensed and dedicated internet marketing distance learning school in the country, probably the world. It's imtcva.org, where you can have, and here I go again, legitimate lifestyle business in as little as 6 months. So check it out, and we'll have the link to that in the show notes. And one more thing, we've been approved by the Department of Defense for their scholarship program for military spouses. So if you know any military spouses who want to work out of their home from wherever they're deployed, please send them my way. All right, let's get to the main event. Even though solopreneurs and work-from-home folks have freedoms our office-bound friends envy, many of them still say they struggle with time. And our guest today, Robyn Pearce, works with clients around the world, helping them win their time battles. And she's got a bunch of practical time tips to help us find more time to enjoy our Screw the Commute lifestyle. Robyn, are you ready to screw the commute?
I can't help but laugh when you say that.
Well, most women do laugh when I say that, though. I got to tell you. So in commuting where you live, boy, I sure made a mess of that. You drive on the other side of the road in New Zealand. And boy, you gotta really think twice before you get in a car down there.
Well, hang on a minute. I have to think twice when I come to your country.
Well, that's true. That's true. But do you realize when I came down to New Zealand to speak one time.
Which I loved having you here,
Well,
by
I
the way.
was thrilled
So
thrilled
cool.
to come there. It was one of the most memorable and beautiful places I've ever been. I remember seeing a rainbow that was so vivid, it looked like you could touch it. And but the interesting, extra special, interesting thing to me was I was there when you sold your Air Force.
Oh, you've never let me forget that.
I know you had like one or two F-16 jets.
Oh, I
and
think you
decided
slightly exaggerate, Tom
to
and
sold them. No, that's what happened.
No,
So-
no, I think there might have been a couple more than 2 planes.
well, maybe I don't know, but it
Now,
doesn't.
hang on a minute. Let me just get the record a little bit straight. We do still have an Air Force.
Oh, you do? I thought you sold the whole thing back then.
No, no. I have 2 sons in the military.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's right. So
But they're not Air Force, they are Army. But no, we don't. The thing is, how big do you have to have an Air Force in order to be of value? So it's used, and in fact, the whole New Zealand Defence Force really is a peacekeeping entity more than anything.
yeah. I mean, and I don't know who would want to beat up on New Zealand. That's really just wonderful. down there.
Well, I don't think we'll go there at the moment. We had a really awful massacre in Christchurch.
Well, yes,
yeah.
I did know that.
An idiot. Yes. Anyway, we won't go there.
Right,
but
but
we are a gorgeous country and very friendly people.
very
You're right.
friendly, very, very friendly. And so let me tell you my time management tip and see if you like it or not.
I'm curious, Tom.
You remember what I said? I said
Half
half
is empty.
equals empty. So
Yeah.
I have this rule when I'm driving, if my tank gets to half, I look at that as empty and I stop at the first, place to get gas and fill up. Because
I like that.
yeah, how many times do you're really desperate to get somewhere and you got to stop and get gas because you're almost out. So that's my rule. That's my time management rule.
Well, I would say quarter is empty.
Oh,
Maybe
okay.
our gas stations might be a little bit closer, but yes, certainly if it's getting down to the red, I am becoming anxious. So I love that one. I'm going to share that.
All
Thank
right,
you,
half
Tom.
is empty. So anyway, so tell us what you've been doing. You've got all kinds of books out and you really mastered this field.
Oh, well, I've learnt a lot from you over the years, Tom. And I always remember you saying, do the work once and get paid.
That's right.
You've drummed that into my brain. What have I been doing? Well, for the last 27 years, I think it is just about now, I've been speaking, writing, running training programs for clients around the world. A lot of writing these days, more writing now than face-to-face work. And I love being at home and working. I'm looking out now. It's just morning time now and the sun isn't quite up because we're coming into our winter soon. I live by water. I don't have to get out there and fight the Auckland traffic, which is not quite as bad as LA, but pretty awful in the mornings. So what else have I been doing? Lots of grandkids. So yes, family time takes up a lot. At my stage of life, it's great having the freedom to do things for the family. Although, having said that, my children, of which there are 6, they know they have to put themselves in the diary well in advance if they want my grandmotherly assistance on looking at the kids.
All right, now you use the term diary. We don't use that much around here. Is that like your calendar book, you mean?
Yeah, calendar, planner, diary, scheduler. You can use any word you like.
Okay, yeah.
Same.
Well, us screwballs, some of us are country bumpkins, so we don't know the fancy language of the world.
Oh, no. You could say that we're the country bumpkins down here in New Zealand. We're a long way from all you guys.
Oh man, but I did see a lot of sheep down there when I was there, and they were beautiful. The most beautiful
I thought
sheep
you
I've
mainly
ever seen.
stayed at the hotels, Tom. Did you really?
No, I actually stayed at somebody. I forget the guy's name. I stayed at his house one time, and they had these beautiful I mean, it was almost like paintings. It was so gorgeous and vivid. I remember that. Maybe there's no air pollution or something down there, but everything was just vivid.
Yeah, well, I think you're probably fairly right there. We do have pretty clean air.
Mhm.
We try hard to not pollute our beautiful country.
Yeah. Oh, it was just gorgeous. I just remember that how vivid everything was. It was like being in a painting. But So you doing much speaking, or most of your work's remote now with folks, or what?
A lot of my work is remote, although
Mm-hmm.
yes, I get on planes and go places. I'm not traveling internationally as much as I was, and that's by choice. Although, having said that, one of my oldest son, who's a brigadier, is based in London at the moment, so that gives me an awfully fabulous reason to go to London.
So tell us what a brigadier is.
A brigadier is a one-star general.
A one-star general. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So he's New Zealand's defence attaché at the moment, so based in London, and one of the benefits of the lifestyle that people like you and I lead is the opportunity to travel and be away for an extended period of time. Like, I've written books and I've worked with clients, coaching clients, when I've been traveling around France, been in England, talking to people that need my help. Sometimes I've been face to face with clients in England, particularly. I've done a lot of work over the years in England, but it's just that freedom to travel when you like and not to rush back all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I listened to the lovely Patricia Fripp on one of your
Right.
podcasts recently, who's a dear friend of mine as well. And she does the same thing, and she's done it for more years than me, of when you go someplace to add an extra bit of time before and or after, so that you don't just spend all your lives in hotels and airplanes.
Yeah, Rebecca Morgan was on too. I'm not sure if you know her or not. She's a
I do know
speaker
her.
at Net
Yes.
News. She said the same thing. And I do too. I go in several days early. I don't like to be rushing and all that. And also because airlines are having, when
Yeah.
you're the main event, you got to be there, right? So I go in way
Exactly.
early and I stay late and just take it easy.
Yeah.
So,
And Rebecca stayed at my house, by the way. And
oh, really?
You visited my house,
Yeah, I
but
did.
not this house.
That was a different house, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yes.
soon after I left, I think you moved. I don't know if
Yes, I'm
had
out
to
in the
be.
country. I'm
Well,
right by
it
water.
wasn't my fault, was it? That I
No,
fumigated or something after?
no. Tom, I have to tell you, I have a vivid recollection of you sitting in my office and watching me do something on a keyboard. This is a time tip, guys. And you said, Robyn, you're a time management specialist. Why are you doing that slow way? And you taught me, you may not remember this, but you showed me that little tiny, well, we would call it an app or a piece of software, short keys.
Right.
You remember that?
Yes. Well, I kind of remember that, but I'm sitting here thinking the reason I did it is because I had a young person in 1997 sitting behind me telling me, "Well, I can't believe somebody making so much money is so stupid. Just click here." And, and so he was always right. So I let him abuse me. So I think I must have passed it on to you a little bit.
Thank you. I appreciate it, because every time I do just a couple of keystrokes and a whole phrase shows up,
Exactly.
I
That's short keys.
love it.
That's
I
the
think
one
of
that
you.
saved me 7 million keystrokes. We figured it out a couple years ago.
I
And
wondered if that's what you were referring
yeah,
to.
but I want you to grab that automation book because I think it's perfect for you. If just get another tip out of it that can save you a lot of time, will be perfect. But it's this thing, I've handled as much as 150,000 subscribers and 40,000 customers with one part-time temp person. So you got to be, use these tools that are available to make that happen and take care of everybody. So did you ever have a job?
I
Oh,
did.
you laughed when I said that.
Not for a long time. I wonder whether I'm unemployable now.
Right. Oh, yeah, me too.
I
That's for
think
sure.
most of us would say that.
Yeah.
Yes, I did. When I left school, I didn't go to university, but when I left school, I became a librarian, and I
Oh,
loved
they
that
rake in
job.
the bucks, don't they?
No, no, no. It's not a very well paid job at all. But if you love books
Right.
and
Oh, wow.
you love digging and squirreling around looking for answers, it's a great career.
Mhm.
And I really did love my library job. And I did my training, worked in that career for somewhat over 5 years, including at a university library. And then the next job was having 6 kids.
Oh, geez.
That was full time, Tom. They all arrived in a 9-year period, like the brigadier. He was
But
first.
did I see in your bio you had 17 grandchildren?
You saw that
That's
correctly.
not even believable as young as you look. The
Oh,
guy that
bless
does the
your heart.
podcast thing was looking at your picture and he's saying, "Oh, hey, how could this be? This lady's not that old." And I said, "I don't know, but now I got a grandmother child joke. You want to hear it?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay. So why do grandchildren and grandparents get along so well?
Oh, I don't know.
Because they have a common enemy.
Oh, I'm not sure whether I'm going to tell that to my
I know,
children.
but
I get on really well with my kids, actually.
yeah. So give us some time management tips for the folks out there in starting a business or trying to improve their business.
Oh, I'd love to, Tom. The the thing that got me into the time management, I would just say, is that I used to be really bad at it. And people look at me slightly weird when I stand in front of them in a big audience and I tell them this. They're thinking, well, this woman's come to talk to us about time management, and that's how she starts. But the interesting thing is that we teach best that which we need to know. And
Mhm.
we've all heard that phrase.
Yep.
But also it was because I was bad at my time management, I had to work harder at it than most people. And so I'd come really from the back, back plate, I suppose you could say. Oh, I forgot to tell you that I also spent quite a few years in real estate as
Oh,
well.
wow. Wow.
Yeah, after the children had got a little bit older, I'd had gone through a marriage breakup. I'd been a solo mum for single mum on benefits, government benefits for a
Wow.
period of time. Then got into real estate, and it was in real estate where certainly I was making more money than being on a government benefit, thank goodness. But what I also learnt there was that there's no point having the money if you haven't got the health.
Mm.
And that was the real driver that had me thinking, I've got to do something about my time. Now, I'll give you a little tip, but in the form of a story, is that one day in those real estate days or realtor days, I was having coffee with a friend, and to be honest, I was having a pity party. I was moaning and complaining because there weren't enough hours in the day. And finally, Tony looked at me in frustration and said, "Oh, for goodness sakes, Robbie, go and get a decent diary." Now, you might call it a planner, a
Mhm.
scheduler, or a calendar, but in those days it was a paper-based
Mhm.
scheduler. Go and get a decent one. And that was the first time, and it's really a key point about learning in different ways. For the first time, I actually heard somebody explain the principles, and how I got to hear them was because I sent away for the diary system that my friend was using, and with it came 2 tapes. And for the younger listeners, they were tapes. Little old cassettes, if you
Mhm.
can remember those. You
Mhm.
used to have lots of
Oh,
those too.
yes. Yeah.
But the point being is that there's so much valuable information waiting there at really affordable rates, just and these days even more and more. And that changed my life. Those 2 tapes.
Mm.
The diary was great, but the information was infinitely more important. And for the first time, I realized that there were principles behind the way we make choices with our time. So some of that, and it went on from there. I started to adopt those principles. All sorts of other things happened. And within a few years, people started asking me for help.
Wow.
And I was really surprised when the first person came asking for help. I'm going, but I'm not good at this stuff. I'm always late. And the woman that was asking me, she said, I've watched you and you understand the principles. So that's a real big takeaway right
Mhm.
there. Is drilling down to get those principles. So what are they? You're
Yes. We're
telling me to
we're
hurry
all
up there
waiting
in
for
your
it.
mind.
Yeah.
Is- okay, in terms of time, some of the things when people first start their business, because that's where it led for me, um, it's very hard to try and keep a handle on everything, because when you begin, you're the go-to person for every single thing. And very quickly, within a matter of months of me starting my little embryonic training business and coaching business, it really started as coaching, I began to feel really overloaded and started to get back into the state that I'd experienced many times previously of feeling close to burnout. And I had done burnout several times when I'd been in real estate. So I thought, well, what's going on here? Something's not right. And my thought was, I need some help. But then I didn't have the money to pay for any help. I was hardly making any money myself as it was at that stage. And then I thought, well, what am I actually doing with my time? And this is a really useful little technique that I did, or strategy that I stumbled across, that I share with every entrepreneur group that I work with. And in fact, even with corporate people too, because so often we feel like we've got too much going on, but what the heck are we actually spending our time on? I got a little sheet of paper. I made 3 columns, or just an A4 sheet of paper, 3 columns. The first column was the big wide one, because that was, what am I doing during a week, an average week? What are the actual activities I'm doing? The second skinny column over to the right was, how many minutes or hours per week am I doing on this task? And the third column was, how many minutes or hours of the work that I was doing could I pass on to somebody else, that if I had that person, could do it at a lower pay rate at that time, a lower pay rate than what I wanted to pay myself. I hadn't quite got there yet. But
Okay, let me get this straight. All right, first of all, for everybody outside or in the United States, A4 is nothing fancy. It's just a size of paper, roughly 8.5 by 11 in different parts of the world. So that's, you don't have to get any kind of fancy paper to do this. But give us those columns again that you were making.
right, column 1 is the activities that I was doing in a normal week.
Okay.
Column 2 was the number of minutes or hours I was typically doing on each activity in that week.
All right.
And if something was done only once a month, for example, I would just reduce it. So if it was something that took an hour per month, I would just put 15 minutes.
Okay, got it.
So I was amortizing things. The third column was, if I had somebody else, what of the minutes or hours that I was already doing, how much of that could be passed over to somebody else at a lower pay rate than what I wanted to pay myself.
Okay, great. Now, this was all before you made any changes, right? To just see
Correct.
what you needed.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because here I was struggling, feeling overloaded, too much to do, not able to afford anybody, but really didn't have clarity. It was what I say to people about this particular strategy is that it really is a diagnostic tool as to where you're spending your time.
Mm-hmm.
And secondly, as we go further, you'll find that it's also a job description for somebody else coming on. So what happened for me was I did this exercise. It didn't take very long. And it was a shock, because I found that I was doing 80 hours a week on the second column. That was what the second column totaled up to. I'm going, oh, no wonder I'm exhausted.
Right.
There were all sorts of little minutiae type things going on that I was putting time into, but they weren't good use of my time. The third column, however, that was the biggest shock, because that was 40 hours per week.
Mm.
I'm going, oh my goodness, no wonder I'm making no money. I'm fluffing around day by day doing low-level things. So that still left me with a problem that I couldn't afford somebody. And I have to say this very emphatically, is that when we get clarity about what the answer, what the need is, and we know what it is that we're looking for, the answer always shows up. Because within a matter of a week or 2 weeks, a friend of mine came to see me. She was in a similar situation with a startup business. She also needed help. She was also feeling exhausted and run down. And we found that we could get a young girl from a government work scheme, and in every country there will be people doing, like, being interns,
Mm-hmm.
or
Right.
young people that you can get to help get started. And at that stage in New Zealand, the government was subsidising people so that they could get back to work. So all we had to do was commit to keeping the young girl we got for 6 months. And she was able to be job shared between the two of us. So and the government paid half the salary.
Wow.
So I got a half a person and my friend had the other half
Which
of 2
half did
hours.
you get?
I got the smart half. No, we both got we got a lovely young girl, and she came to me for half the time, and she went to the other girl half the time, and we paid quarter of a wage, and that was just enough to get us over the hump, and to cut away the low level things and start to focus on
But
the
you
things
said
that
you
we
had to
wanted
keep her
see.
for 6 months. What if she was terrible? I mean, was there some way to
Oh,
get out?
yeah, if we could have gone back to
Oh,
the organisation that was
okay. All right.
supplying her, yeah.
All
But
right.
in fact, we were lucky.
Now, I'm looking at these 3 columns, so I did some quick figures for myself. So you found 80 hours in column 2, and
Yeah.
that's why you were exhausted.
Yep.
So in column 2, I also found 80 hours, but in column 1, it was from eating. So that's why I'm fat.
I can remember you were thinner when I first met you,
No,
Tom.
I lost about 100 pounds since the last time you saw me.
Oh, well done you.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so sorry. So this is a good thing to start with. So
Migration.
Besides the you got this program, so that took out, I guess, part of that 80 hours. So what about the rest of it?
Well, obviously, then you've got to stay focused. Well,
hmm
it's not obvious, but some of the other things that people struggle with is the sorry, I'll make sure I'm answering your question. So with the other 40
For
hours that I was left with,
right,
then I was focusing on the work that was going to start bringing the money
the
in.
most money. So you still
Yes.
worked 40 hours, but you were able to
Yeah,
concentrate and not be so exhausted on the things
absolutely.
that are bringing the most revenue.
Correct.
Okay.
So and that's the big thing that a lot of early startups struggle with, is how to get over that hump. So that's my big advice, is to delegate one way or another. And there are always opportunities out there for jobs to be passed on. It might be to young kids, even. It might be to teenagers.
Yeah,
And
I'm totally for that. What I am against is when the people are telling you delegate everything, and see, you had done all the work, and so you understood how long it took, what's involved. Where a lot of people delegate stuff and then they're sitting ducks to be ripped off because they don't even understand. And somebody could take 3 hours to do something that's only supposed to take 30 minutes, and the principal wouldn't know any better. So I'm against
absolutely.
that.
No, I'm completely with you on that one, Tom. Another source, actually, while we're just on delegation, it is Upwork. It's
hmm
fantastic.
Yep. Used to
And
be called a lot of different things, but uh,
yes, it's
it
Upwork
used to be
now. And
Elance. Yeah.
it was, yes.
hmm
And there are so many amazing people around the world who are offering their services, and they work really hard. I've got fabulous book formatters at the moment in India, and they're doing a stunning job.
hmm
Even if they make a mistake, and there was one little mistake a few days ago, they just fixed it so quickly.
Nice.
And I really recommend them for so outsourcing in some form or another. But it's important to get the young kids around your neighbourhood involved as well, so that we're teaching young people. And I know you're a big one on that one,
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
getting
So
teaching
anything
kids going. Yeah.
crazy or bizarre happen in this business life of yours?
Oh, um, well, do you want me to tell you the speaker story?
Yeah, of course. I love speaker stories.
Okay. I was speaking in Darwin, Australia one time, and it was in a casino. I was on it. So the reason I'm telling you that is because they had a lot of um, security stuff, and it tended to screw up the audio. I was on the stage. I had the people down in front of me. The whiteboard was at a particular spot on the stage, and there was a constant feedback coming. So I'd been prancing around in my
hmm
high heels on the stage. The feedback was a problem. A couple of the blokes from the audience jumped up and shifted the whiteboard a little bit further. I was using that. They brought it closer to the front of the stage so that I wouldn't get the feedback. It was getting away from various
You were
microphones and
like
things.
underneath a speaker or something, then, right?
There must have been some technology that was causing this feedback.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
It wasn't the normal thing, but it was because it was a casino. There was so much technology
I
around
see.
the place. And So I carried on prancing along the stage, doing my thing, and took a step forward, forgot that I now didn't have the same distance between me and the audience.
Uh-oh.
I landed on the floor
Oh.
on my, I'm happy to say, on my feet.
Oh,
There was a
man.
gasp from the audience. One man had his head down taking notes when this incident happened. He looked up and he said, "Oh, I missed it." I felt like saying, "Do you want me to go and do it again?"
So you didn't fall down. You just, you,
I fell. I dropped about 3 feet off
but you
the
stayed
stage.
on your feet though.
I stayed on
Boy,
my
you must
feet.
have some strong heels.
I must have. I was lucky that day. Yes. Yeah, falling off the stage is probably my most dramatic one.
Oh, man. So what do you like working best about yourself, and what's the worst part?
Working for myself best. Oh my goodness. Um, I just love the freedom. It's I can do what I like when I like. All of the things I think every entrepreneur probably says that. The worst part is, well, I don't get lonely, so I can't say that. If I get lonely, I go and find people to talk to. Um, I don't think there is a worst part. I can't think of a worst part. I would, if I didn't like it, I would have changed it back again.
Exactly, exactly. So how do people work with you, and what's your website, and how do they
All
contact
right.
you, and what you got a lot of books out too and everything, right?
I do, yes. My website is gettingagrip.com.
Getting a grip. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The books, there's a bunch of the books are in the Getting a Grip series. There's Getting a Grip on time management, Getting a Grip on paper and email, or the paper and email war, Getting a Grip on leadership, which I co-wrote with a lovely lady in the States from North Dakota, Getting a Grip on business meetings, and so on and so forth. And then there's some other tips books as well. Oh, and there's one called Getting a Grip on Parenting Time, because with those 17 kids, I've got a few lessons.
Wow.
So it's about time management for parents. And there's so much information on my website, Tom. You can find that there. My books are also actually the easiest way to find out where all my books are, because they're more, by the time this goes to air, we'll be very close to having them all on Amazon and other places, is
Yeah,
robynpearce.com.
spell it for him, because your
Sure.
Robin is R O
It,
B
oh,
Y N.
It is Robyn. Pearce is PEARCE.com. And there you'll find where all the books are available on lots of different platforms and formats as well. So Amazon, Kindle, they will be in Kobo, etc., etc.
And so, do you do any coaching with people, or do you
I
do?
do.
Yeah. How's
Yes.
that work?
Yeah. Coaching, I do that via Zoom
Mm-hmm.
typically. Yep. If it's somebody very local to me, I'll do it face to face. But I work with people all around the world using Zoom, and still doing some speaking and some training. That's mostly in New Zealand now, but happy to travel.
Mm-hmm. And is the coaching stuff on your website?
Yes, it is.
Okay, great.
Yes, that's all at
So which is
gettingagrip.com.
best, the Getting a Grip or Robyn Pearce, or both?
To go to gettingagrip.com because you'll get the chance to tap into all of the other information. I've got so much free stuff there. Grab the one thing I really encourage people to do, because we've only touched the surface with one basic main tip here, is get hold of the little free ebook, How to Master Time in
Mm-hmm.
Only 90 Seconds. That's at on the right-hand side of every page on the screen of gettingagrip.com. And that'll tap you into all of the other ongoing fabulous free resources and time help that we've got.
Yeah, that's all great, and it's just so important of today's fast-paced society that you get, because you can get eaten up just by Facebook alone, can just kill your whole day, if you're not
Oh,
careful.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Like,
So
let me not start on tips
yeah.
on that one. We might be here a while.
So we got to take a break for our sponsor message, and when we come back, we're going to ask Robyn, who's a time management expert, what's a typical day look like for her, and how she stays motivated. So, folks, our sponsor this week, it's me again. Hey, no kidding. And the Internet Marketing Retreat and Joint Venture Program, where myself and my staff work with you for a year to get you either started in an internet business or to use the internet to take your existing business to the next level. Now, all the details on that are at greatinternetmarketingtraining.com, greatinternetmarketingtraining.com. But let me just give you the story of how it started. Back around the year 2000, it was about the time I met Robyn. I kind of turned the internet training world on its head, because people like me at my level were charging $50,000 or $100,000 up front to teach what we knew to business people who didn't want to learn it themselves. So, hey, I'm a small business advocate, and I knew many small businesses could never afford that kind of upfront money. So I made all those gurus mad by charging a relatively small entry fee to my program. And then I also would get a percentage of profits that was capped, so you're not stuck with me forever. So for me to get my big money, you had to make way bigger money. And people just love that. And plus, I'm not going to disappear on you because I want my money. How about that? And then I went another step further. I have a big estate home and a TV studio where my students, as part of their year-long program, come for an immersion weekend at the Great Internet Marketing Retreat Center. It's the only facility of its kind in the world. So check it out at greatinternetmarketingtraining.com. Of course, all the things we talked about, all Robyn's info and everything will be in our show notes for episode. Let me get this number. This is episode 131 with Robyn Pearce. So Robyn, what's a typical day look like for you?
I'm typically up by around 6 a.m., sometimes earlier.
Wow.
I do a few exercises, do some meditation. If it's summertime, I would go walking first thing usually, but now it's...
Wait a minute. Does exercise, for me, does going to the refrigerator count?
No,
No.
Tom.
No.
No, there's I don't. I have a bit of an aversion to getting in a car to go to exercise. It seems a bit ironic. So I most of the time I've got about a 40-minute walk that I do close to my home.
All right.
But on weekends I might be sailing or cycling.
Yeah, tell us about that sailing. You're like a competitive sailor, right?
Yes, but it's not every weekend or anything. I love sailing on classic yachts. Yeah, so these are real boats with sails, people.
Right.
Motor launches. And the one that I sail on, she's a beauty. Her name is Waitangi, which is Waitangi, for anyone that's really curious. The New Zealand Classic Yacht Association, and she was built in 1894.
Wow.
So there's no push button anything. So it's all block and tackle. We can't sail with less than about 10 people on the crew. And she's just beautiful to sail on. So we do race. We have a whole fleet of beautiful old gaffer rigged yachts, which will only mean something to those who are keen sailors. We mostly sail around the bigger harbour area, but I've sailed also in the Med, and I've sailed in England at Cowes as well.
Have you sailed a long distance at one shot anytime?
Yeah, yes. The longest one was from Spain up to Corsica, so it was about 3 days, 3 or 4 days.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
That is really cool.
By a lot of people's standards, that's pretty small scale, but it was my first blue water experience, and we had the Mistral, and that was all very exciting and not so good on the tummy.
All right,
I did it.
You get up, you do some exercise, then what?
Bit of exercise, and then typically I'm at my computer because the morning is my creative time. This depends, obviously, if I've got a training session or I'm doing a speech or I'm running a workshop. I'm obviously up and out the door, and because I live an hour out of the city and the traffic is not pleasant, I leave really early, and that's another time tip is get there first. Go really, really early. It's a bit like your half is empty thing.
Well, that's another thing I say. If you're not early, you're late.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's better to get to the other end and you can have a nap if you're tired or do some other work or something like that. I just hate being stuck in traffic.
Right.
So I'll usually be working at whatever current book I'm on at the moment, and I'm about to start into fiction writing soon too, but that's a different story. Breakfast, and then it'll carry on often, depending on what I'm working on. It might be with clients via Zoom, or back to doing more creative work. In the afternoons, typically, I endeavour to do the other stuff in the afternoons. Now, this doesn't work every single day. It depends just how busy it is. But I look, and this is a time tip too, actually, Tom, I look as much as possible to chunk blocks of time
Mm-hmm.
to do concentrated work. And one of the key things is do not let the alerts drive your life. So turn off your alerts on your email, on your
I
phone,
see.
and be fully focused on the work that you're engaged in because you'll get more done. Multitasking is actually a misnomer. It's,
Mm-hmm.
well, I mean, it happens, but it doesn't make you faster and better at your work. It actually slows you down.
Wow, that's a heck of a tip right there. So how do you stay motivated?
Oh, well, I love my environment. I look out at the water all the time. I'm looking at it now, and that just really inspires me. I think this beautiful country is one of my inspirations, but I just really love helping people. And I've had an affirmation for many years. I encourage people all over the world. I help them to focus and achieve their goals, and it seems to work. So
Those are great parting words for we call them screwballs, people that listen to this.
I'm happy to be a screwball.
Hey, well, one quick question about where you live now. Do you have a sunrise or a sunset on the water?
Sunset, and it's stunning.
Oh, bet. Send me a picture when you get a chance.
I will,
We'll put
Tom.
it in the
Yes.
show notes, everybody, because you'll see the beautiful, beautiful place where she lives, and the New Zealand overall is, like I said, is just gorgeous. And
If anyone wants to see New Zealand, go see Lord of the Rings.
there you go. Right, right. Ah, boy. So, well, it's great catching up with you. So great, and a lot of great tips for the people out there, because I know everybody struggles with this, and you have surely mastered it. So, thanks for coming on.
My pleasure, Tom, and thank you for all the wonderful teaching that you've done over the years. You've been a real inspiration to me, I have to tell you.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Hope to get down there and see you again one of these days.
Oh, well, I'll come and see you in Virginia.
Okay, it's a deal.
All
All
Thank you.
everybody.
Bye.
All right, so check out the show notes, everybody, to get your freebie off. Robyn's got a great free thing at Getting a Grip on the right-hand side. Get that, because her stuff is great, and it'll lead you to all the other great stuff she has. And make sure you check out our mentor program if you'd like one-on-one tutoring and help to really get a serious business going for yourself that you can operate from anywhere in the world, even when you go down to New Zealand. All right, catch you later.